All right, Ryan. Well, thank you for joining me. So, pretty much, I kind of just want to start for like those that don't know your story. Like, what did you originally have happen with your arm, leading up until we met one another?
Yeah, so my sophomore fall of high school, I was trying to throw a guy out from the outfield. I was dealing with a lot of elbow pain prior to this. Tried to throw a guy out from the outfield and heard a loud pop, a lot of pain. It was a Sunday, so I couldn't go see the doctor until the next day. Found out it was a fracture of the medial epicondyle, basically your funny bone. Got that screwed in about a week later, and during the PT and rehab process for that surgery. I kind of found out my arm wasn't ever going to be truly straight. And then kept trying to deal with that for about another 2 years. And then I had a bone spur surgery, little cleanup the fall of my senior year. So 2 years, I think 2 years to the day after my first surgery. And they thought that might bring out a little more range of motion, help me throw a little bit more pain free. It helped a little bit. It was pretty temporary. At this point, my UCL was pretty messed up, and they thought that was the reason for the bone spurs. And then I went to college, pitched, never really pain free for the first 2.5 years. And then I found a doctor who almost virtually promised that she could get my arm straight. She had done the same surgery multiple times, and she went in there and cleaned up a couple of bone spurs, a couple stress fractures, and then I woke up and she said we didn't get it straight. And virtually I got no range of motion from that surgery. So it was a huge waste of my junior fall. Uh, Obviously relieved a little bit of pain, but then yeah, that's probably my injury history.
So, what did doctors think was going on with your arm and why it was unable to get straight again?
Yeah, so they thought that due to maybe the direction the screw was put in. So I've seen about 7 different doctors for this for my elbow, just looking for maybe a common solution amongst doctors. And to be honest, there hasn't been one. Everyone has a different opinion. But this doctor that did my second surgery thought it was bent because of that, maybe the angle the screw was put in. It caused a little bit of damage, and my arm stayed bent to protect it. Some people thought it was bad physical therapy. They didn't focus on getting the range of motion back right away. Some doctors think my UCL is torn, and that's what's preventing it. That's been pretty 50-50. I've had a lot of MRIs, and half of them think it's torn, half of them don't think it's torn. Personally, I don't think it's torn.
When you were going through all of this, like starting from sophomore year on up until we met one another, were you dealing with consistent elbow pain throughout that entire time, or were there ebbs and flows of these symptoms?
I would say it was pretty ebb and flowy, but mostly consistent. I guess the degree would be was a wide variety, like the degree of pain. But my sophomore year had a good fall, had a good winter. Like halfway through the spring, I got a nasty shoulder impingement, and I'd been dealing with a lot of rotator cuff pain, which I think kind of goes not talked about when I talk about my injury history, just because so much of my injury history has been around my elbow. But the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, I couldn't like get an external rotation. Every time I bounced back, it was a shooting pain. Thought it was just tendonitis in the shoulder. I took 2 weeks off after summer ball, came back in the fall, felt good. And then in the spring of my sophomore year that came back, I velo dropped significantly. Literally couldn't get into external rotation at all. If you watch the slow mo, it's just my arm dragging at 90 degrees. It just looks like it hurts, and it did. Uh, but yeah, the elbow pain was pretty consistent. Obviously, when I'm pushing the ball and throwing 80 miles an hour, there's not enough torque on my elbow for it to hurt.
Mhm.
Uh, but as I fixed that and went to the summer again, yeah, I was pretty much in pain the whole time. I mean, I would start in summer ball between sophomore and junior. I was a starter, and I wouldn't pick up a baseball any day except for my start because I couldn't.
You had no bounce back ability. Like it just didn't
Yeah,
recover.
yeah, I wouldn't even throw a midweek bullpen. Wouldn't play catch the other 6 days of the week. It was
So,
painful.
talk to me about how your body is feeling now and the types of symptoms and the recovery that you're at this point in time.
Definitely. So, I mean, I think the coolest thing that I've learned is it's not always, your arm or your upper body that's causing your elbow pain. Uh, Obviously pitchers and throwers, you're doing a lot of like movements in one direction. Like, if you're a lefty thrower, you're really only throwing with your left arm. You're moving to the right mostly, like you're swinging to your right, and so that can throw you off balance a lot. Like if you don't do anything to counteract that. So I was pretty counter rotated. I mean, my left shoulder was significantly lower, and since beginning to correct these, my body's felt amazing. My bounce back time, it's probably been cut into a third. I threw 30 pitches yesterday and could get back out there today. And it's the second week of the fall. So that's a really good problem to have. Um, yeah, I think just for me personally is like getting up after doing my warm-up routine, like standing up for the first time and just feeling like true alignment in your hips and your spine and really understanding what it's like to feel stretched out. A lot of kids could feel like their warm-up routine, gets them right, but I had never felt the way I had. Like my glutes were wide open, felt really stacked. I used to have a lot of rib flare and anterior tilt, and now I feel really stacked. I feel really in control of my body. I feel like everything's going at the same time. I don't feel like I have to manually correct myself. I feel like my warm-up routine and posture therapy routine does that for itself.
Has the range of motion or the ability for you to get your elbows straight changed, improved, or gotten worse at all throughout this time?
It has definitely not gotten worse. It's I think the elbow itself might have not have changed, but the way it looks definitely has changed. Tucking my shoulder back more because it was leaking forward. I mean, kids used to look at me and start like going like this with their arm at 90 degrees trying to mimic me. So yeah, now you can't even tell unless you're really looking for it, apparently, which I find hard to believe. But yeah, I mean, I've felt really comfortable throwing the baseball. I really haven't noticed the fact that my arm doesn't go straight until you like watch a video in slow motion. It's pretty hard to tell. But yeah, I used to be very, very conscious of the fact that, I wasn't quite getting where I used to in terms of extension. And now it's just kind of it feels normal, pain free. Because I used to always feel a jolt when I would hit that hyperextension, and now I don't. It's just very subconscious.
So with the carry angle of your arm not necessarily changing a whole lot in terms of like how much bent it is, for you and what you've learned so far about your body, how do you or how would you explain to somebody how improving the alignment of your body has taken the stress off your elbow, even though there hasn't been a significant change in the carry angle of your elbow while you throw?
Yeah, I mean, it just allows you to get in much better positions. I'm not having to compensate at all in different areas. I look at old videos and I used to do a lot of like elbow hiking. I don't know, it used to be called the inverted W. I don't know if it's still called that. Uh I used to like physically have to jolt my arm to get it up just because it was so droopy and so far in front of me. I physically have to take my elbow and throw it back just to get my hand up and into any sort of scap retraction. And now it's my scap is so much more loose. My shoulder joint feels healthy and normal. So I'm just allowed to let it flow and then like walk away from my arm, I guess would be the term I'd use to get into scap retraction. It just feels natural.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm loving everything I'm hearing from that. So as far as like the process that we underwent to cause these changes within your body, what did that process look like on your end?
Yeah, absolutely. Taking shirtless pictures in front of my roommates, they quite didn't quite understand
Yes,
uh
that's the entertaining portion.
what the purpose was. They asked who I was sending them to, and I was like a guy. And then,
Even better, even better.
yeah. And no, but I think the feedback and the diagrams, like to someone like me who doesn't really understand how posture works, or at least didn't at the time, understanding what my body was actually supposed to look like. Because no one, I think you could look at someone with their shirt off and like no one, sorry, someone not knowing like what posture was, just, oh, that's a normal back.
Mhm.
Like now I look at my teammates and it's like, oh, you're throwing arm scaps low and you're kind of rotating your hips hiked and you
It's
got to
kind of
fix
reading in
that.
a foreign language, and to a certain extent.
Totally, because no one, it's not like your legs 3 inches shorter. You don't feel it necessarily. You don't feel it until you change it.
I think that's a really good way to describe is your body just feels normal. And then once you realign it a little bit and it feels in a different position, you're like, oh, that actually feels better. But I didn't know what that felt like until it got there.
Exactly.
So, in terms of kind of how long these exercises took you, A, to do on a daily basis, but also how long the results took for you to actually get, what did that timeline look like?
I saw results my first day using it. I think I got it. I think I got my first program on a Monday. I threw live that Thursday, and velocity was like a mile per hour up.
Pretty
On average.
instantaneously.
Yeah. Uh, and then next week I'm up 2 miles per hour, and then the whole team wants to do my warm-up routine with me. Um, I would say the first maybe 2 days with a new program, it takes 20, 22 minutes. Just because you're watching the videos and you can't remember what's after what.
Mhm.
But now that I know my routine and know how long it takes, 15, 14 to 16 minutes at most.
So pretty manageable time frame for you to be able to get your stuff done and then still be able to go out and do all the other stuff that you need to do before practice.
Totally. I mean, I don't do virtually any other activation before like bands and stuff. Like I do this and then that gets my lower body, my T-spine open, like my upper body, and then I go into bands.
It just feels like you're ready to go. You don't have to do a whole bunch of other added
Yeah.
stuff with it.
And even in a time crunch, I think there's enough scap activation in there that gets blood flow to the arms and like even stretching of the lats sometimes that like I could go pick up a baseball. Maybe not get on the mound, but if it's a light catch day, sometimes I won't even do bands or plyos and just hit posture and then go throw.
Perfect. In terms of like the investment that you put into this, not only with your time, but also like the money behind it, do you feel like that investment was worth it for what you've received in the development and like the track that you're on now?
Absolutely. I think it saved me a lot of money in PT and doctor bills. That's first and foremost. I don't know how my body and arm are still hanging on at this point. I think what they told me, my last MRI, I went to the Giants guy. He told me my UCL was off course. So I think it's just detached at the top.
Mhm.
But like I don't feel it because I never really get into that activation. So, but yeah, the fact that I'm still throwing and honestly performing at an all-time high. I'm throwing the ball harder than I ever have. My bounce back time shorter than it ever has. I'm stronger than I've ever been. I think just like our lifting schedule has gotten a lot harder this fall. We're doing all 7 a.m.s now and feel great every day. No, I obviously usually don't have time to hit posture before those lifts, but we'll lift and I'll hit posture before the throw and I'll feel like I didn't lift at all. I guess soreness goes away, gets that body aligned. Feels
What
great.
last one for you? What are your goals for this upcoming season?
Yeah, senior season uh at my school. Obviously I want to have a role where I can pitch and help my team win games. The past 3 years have kind of only appeared in blowouts or games we were going to lose. I think the closest game I ever came in was like a 3-run game. On the field, yeah, I want to be a guy that helps us win games. I want to be a guy that can pitch multiple times in a weekend, and I think my coaches understand that now. My freshman sophomore year, I was like, I'd throw a bullpen and be like, all right, I'm out for a week. And now it's like I threw yesterday, and they're asking me if I can pitch on Saturday. It's like I said, the third week of the fall, so they're already trying to
Cool
get me used
change.
to that.
A really cool change.
Yeah, they really see that now, and yeah, I'm just excited to hopefully win a conference championship, go to the World Series. That'd be pretty cool.
Would love to see Bucknell get into the tournament.
Oh, we've been so close. So this is the year.
Well, let's make it happen.
Absolutely.
All right, Ryan. Well, I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.